Hi guys, who've been searching here and welcome back to another video, and today we're going to be looking at another story, and we are going to jump back to the new series for this review, and we're going to look at arguably Christopher Eccleston's most well-known story, Dalek. This is obviously volume 2, which actually has Dalek, Aliens and the Solarian two-party, but we're going to be looking at Dalek. Dalek is obviously, for most people, the best episode of Christopher Eccleston's one season run as the Doctor. Personally, I think it gets. I think Parting of the Way, the Battle of Parting of the Way, is better because there's normally like three. If you talk to people about Christopher Eccleston's Doctor, there's normally three. 9 times out of 10, you'll either hear number one being Battle of Parting of the Ways, the Dalek, or the Doctor Dance, the Empty Child Doctor Dances. So a large majority of that is Dalek though. And so we're going to have a look at the story. So the Dalek is an interesting story. I watched it recently. I watched this, obviously I watched it quite a lot, but I watched it again the other day for this video, and it was better than I remember it. I always feel like a lot of people say this story's good, and then I think it's a bit overrated. But then I rewatch it and think, oh my god, this is a decent story, and I think the main reason is that everything with the Dalek is good, and everything with the Doctor is good. But then I find that everything else in the story, I'm not a fan of the guy, whatever his name is. See, I've watched it the other day, and I can't remember the guy's name. Whoever that guy was, not Adam, but the man who owns it, Henry Van Staten. That's it, Henry Van Staten. I'm not a fan of him, mainly because I think in the classic run, that kind of stereotypical character who believes in aliens and stuff, but a bit evil, human kind of guy who wants to use aliens for his own gain, has been done in the past slightly better. I think the Team of Cybermen did it a lot better with that guy who tried to use the Cybermen for his own gain, and just generally in classic run, I think that kind of character who wants to use something for his own gain is better. I do like the fact that they kind of try to spin it a little bit. So rather than being someone who tries to use aliens for his own gain, he wants them to, because he doesn't understand them, so he wants to try and figure out what they are, which is quite an interesting concept. Moving on to the Dalek and the Doctor, this is arguably I think I do love Battle of Parting of the Ways, but I do think Christopher Eccleston's past performance is Dalek. In the scene when it's revealed to be a Dalek, obviously all the people, I wasn't born, but obviously I'm sure all the people at the time who watched Classic Who or knew the Daleks were really happy to see them back. But I'm not 100% sure if at that point we knew that the Doctor in the Time War had fought against the Daleks. I can't remember, but I don't believe we knew that yet. So it wasn't until this episode, I believe, that we found out about that, which makes it quite interesting. I think a good part of this, I think the reason I like this story so much, it kind of, maybe not as much in David Tennant's run, but with the things like the Meta-Crisis Doctor, Matt Smith's Doctor a lot, Capaldi's Doctor even a couple of times. It shows that, solidifies the Doctor's pure hatred for the Daleks, which you see with the Meta-Crisis Doctor when he tries to blow them all up in Journey's End and stuff like that. In terms of Dalek stories, in terms of where I'd say is it a good Dalek story, it definitely is a lot better than some of the Dalek stories of the classic run. I think it's definitely not my favourite Dalek story of the classic run, if this was in, this is definitely not my favourite Dalek story. I think the classic one had a lot better ones, and I think even the new series had possibly one or two better ones. I think Bad Will Part in the Waves was a lot better, and I think the what's it called? I like The Witch is Familiar. I think that one's pretty good, but yeah, it's still definitely not a bad Dalek story, and I think it shows you how good Christopher Eccleston's single series was, in the sense that when a lot of people do Dalek rankings, both Christopher Eccleston's stories normally are in the top 5, not if not the top 3, both of his Dalek stories, which just shows how the writing was so good back then. Companions, right? Let's get on to companions. Rose. I think this is a clear Doctor story. It feels kind of. She's very good in this story when she needs to be in it, but it's not her story per se. I think this is definitely to do with. This is definitely a story where the Doctor has to. This is a very good story for where the Doctor needs to come to terms with Galuf, the end of the Time War, and stuff like that. That's what this story is about. And it doesn't make Rose feel shoehorned into this. I think Rose is quite integral to the plot, because obviously she brings the Dalek back to life and stuff like that. But she doesn't need to be in there. I mean, there's some scenes where you could say it's a bit meh, because there's some scenes where it's like the Daleks are like killing the soldiers, and you're like, that's cool, because it just shows the whole power of the Daleks. Because in Remembrance, the last time we saw them, on Doctor Who at least, in 1988, we were watching them kill each other, and, you know, all that. So now we see them back at their full power, and this Dalek was slightly affected by Rose's human side, it's so human DNA, and yet he's still killing people and destroying people. It's just mad. It's just, just shows how they are so powerful. And I think this is a good example of why so many, like when in the Genesis of the Doctor speech, Tom Baker says in that speech, so many people will not even know the name Dalek, and you start to see a bit of a decrease in why would the people be so scared of these Daleks. But this is one of those stories where it says one Dalek's let loose will just kill anything it sees, especially when the Staten tries to say, well, we can just reason with it, and the Doctor just says the closest town, how many people, and then he just says they're all dead if we let this thing loose. And the fact that the Doctor, who is known to save innocence, who loves all of his companions and stuff, decides to sacrifice Rose rather than letting the Dalek escape. Which is like an input, it just shows how he's gone through so much. Yeah. I think a lot of people will say this isn't like an integral story, and it is, but it isn't at the same time. I think the reasons that this doesn't work, I think the issues I have with this story are not minor nitpicks, like, just minor little stuff. I think the big thing that annoys me about this story is that a lot of people who aren't a classic fan or not as big in their knowledge of classic Who seem to think this story was when the Daleks first learnt to be able to conquer the stairs, which was in Remembrance of the Daleks, which granted has the lowest viewing figures of a Dalek story ever, but still that does kind of annoy me, and that's not really anything to do with the story, it's just like another thing. Also, again, not really to do with the story, but because of like a Davros trend where for some reason every Dalek story happens to be a Davros story, this is the first Dalek story since Death to the Daleks in 1974 where the Dalek was in it as the main villain. so not including the 5 Doctors and stuff. It's the proper main villain, and Davros hadn't appeared in it in some shape or form, which is just a bit weird. Fact. Now, that's the end of this video. So yeah, you can like and subscribe. But I just want to say, if anyone was interested in or who's watched my Day of the Dalek review, which I did a little while ago, I have almost finished the Target novelisation, and on Monday that should be coming out. So yeah, look forward to that. But yeah, if you have been watching this and you've got this far in the video, and you have enjoyed it, then do think about liking and subscribing. I do a lot more reviews of both classic and the new, with like my Day of the Dalek review and obviously the Dalek review. I've done other reviews, I do series reviews, I do rankings. So yeah, but yeah, just if you enjoy it, like and subscribe, and try and watch another video. But yeah, see you.